2, Transparency and Accountability. General Studies Paper 2 carrying 250 marks is divided into polity, governance, international relations. So governance part of it, as I told you earlier, gets the bulk number of questions. In governance, we have a unit on transparency and accountability. Transparency and accountability, RTI, Citizens Charter, Whistleblower Protection Bill, Citizens Delivery of Services Bill. So these are the major instruments for promoting transparency and accountability. This particular topic on transparency and accountability is also there in General Studies Paper 4 Ethics. A lot of overlapping is there between General Studies 2 and General Studies 4. So today's the question taken for discussion. I have taken a comment from the second ARC. The second ARC observes, apart from the traditional civil service values of efficiency, integrity, accountability, patriotism, it is necessary for civil servants to inculcate and adopt ethical and moral values including probity in public life, respect for human rights, compassion for the downtrodden, commitment to their welfare. So this is an observation made by the second ARC. So we are going to examine, in the light of the statement, what is probity, why probity is required, along with the tools to promote probity, along with any suggestions you have, if any. So first, we start with what is probity. Probity means complete and confirmed integrity. So what is this complete and confirmed integrity? Why is it required? It is required for effective governance. It is required for efficient governance. See, in this particular paper on General Studies 2, the keywords, like I spoke of, effective governance, efficient governance, these keywords will fetch a lot of marks for you. So state intervention in development has given rise to bureaucratic corruption, political corruption. We speak of the politician, criminal, bureaucrat nexus. So this is just a brief introduction to the question on what we mean by probity. The second part of it is why probity is required. Probity is required for accountability. The civil servant has to perform. He is accountable for his actions. In accountability, I also mean refusal to perform. Suppose the civil servant is not performing. He is a non-performer, or he does not want to perform. Then he should be made accountable. So accountability is a key component of probity. Accountability for one's actions, accountability for service delivery, accountability for taking quick and swift decisions. Integrity. So integrity is absence of corruption. The civil servant is bound by high levels of integrity. And in integrity, what I would also like to add is, see, you put down your view on the paper, on the file. Suppose you do not agree with the decisions of the superior. So your view will be there on the file so that nobody can override you. The only thing is you bring out the pros and cons of a proposal. You say it is like this, it is like this. If it is implemented, these are the things. If it is not implemented, these are the things. So by integrity, I mean acting according to the norms, acting according to the established rules and regulations. Compliance with procedure. This is another reason why probity is required. By compliance with procedure, I mean established procedures, go by the established rules, norms, laws. Don't violate the laws. You point out the procedure. Suppose your superior asks you to do something wrong. Now the Supreme Court has come to the support of the bureaucracy. See, the Supreme Court has clearly said, don't go by oral instructions. Always ask for written instructions. Suppose in a particular case, the written directions are taking time and the superior asks you to comply with something. Then you act on the oral instructions and subsequently get the written instructions. So compliance with procedure. Avoid potential for misconduct, fraud, and corruption. So probity ensures that the potential for misconduct, fraud, and corruption is not there. So this is the introduction for the question on why probity is required. Come to the main part of the answer. What are the tools to promote probity? First, strengthening the Whistleblower Protection Act. Of course, we have the Whistleblower Protection Act. It provides for whistleblowing at the workplace. You can expose the wrongful doings. But in this, what will happen is the main problem in the Whistleblower Protection Act is how will the whistleblower be protected? Will he be subject to witch hunting? So suppose I am working in an organization, I want to expose my superior to the Whistleblower Protection Act. What happens to me later on? Can I survive in that organization? Then how will my subordinates react? How will my colleagues react? How will my other colleagues react? Colleagues in the sense my batchmates or other related officials with whom I have contact. So anonymity. Anonymity is the most important thing in the Whistleblower Protection Act. Anonymity must be secured. Anonymity must be secured. The whistleblower should be given protection. We have seen in many cases how the whistleblower had to pay for his life when he tried to expose certain scandals. The next thing what I would like to, and one more thing before I go to the next point, it may be very strange that the rules under the Whistleblower Protection Act have not been formulated even till today. Nobody knows who is the competent authority, to whom I should represent, where should I go if I have to whistleblow. I mean, a lot of ambiguity is there in the Whistleblower Protection Act, so that the act has to be strengthened. Incentive for exposing corruption. Now, corruption is pervading in all spheres, right from the lower levels to the top level. Now, suppose I expose the corruption at high places. I should be incentivized. I should not be prosecuted. I should not be punished. The third important thing will be code of ethics. See, this is another tragic state of affairs. In India, we have a code of conduct for the civil servant that says you don't do this, you don't do that. But code of ethics is not there even till today. That is why the second ARC rightly points out there is a need of code of ethics. Now, what is this code of ethics? This code of ethics will promote selflessness, openness, transparency, accountability. So this will become a part of his work culture. That is not there. The code of ethics is strangely absent even till today, and that is why we'll have to give importance to the recommendations of the second ARC, which clearly says that unless this code of ethics is drafted and implemented, it becomes difficult to promote probity. Training to inculcate values. See, the background of the civil servant when he enters, he comes with certain values. Now, the values once he enters will be entirely different. By this, what I mean is, see, we ask for compassion for the downtrodden. What do you mean compassion for the downtrodden? I mean concern for the vulnerable groups, the SC, ST, OBC, minorities, the women, children, the differently abled, and the senior citizens. See, these vulnerable groups have to be safeguarded for. The civil servant should be open to their needs, should be open to their demands. He must work in such a way that he implements the schemes and programs formulated by the government for the vulnerable groups. So for this, a separate training is required. Training in the sense that he should imbibe the values, he should imbibe the spirit of serving the downtrodden, commitment to welfare, and respect for human rights. All this is inculcated in training. The second ARC speaks of one more issue, rewarding the performers and punishing the non-performers. This is a very sad state of affairs in the Indian bureaucracy, wherein the non-performers are rewarded and the performers are punished. Strangely, the performers are victimized. They are not given proper postings. They are kept waiting for months, for years. So we take the recommendation of the second ARC, which says you reward the performers, you recognize their work, you incentivize them, you punish the non-performers. When I say punish the non-performers, I mean have a proper system of exit, have a proper system of screening wherein the non-performers are shown the door. I remember, if I see the state of affairs in Karnataka, the state to which I belong, the number of non-performers being removed is far and few, very, very less. Though there are rules for screening, as far as I remember, we have not been able to remove even one non-performer. Then e-governance initiatives. E-governance initiatives, government has made a lot of e-governance initiatives, mainly for improving service delivery. So e-governance initiatives will see that the citizen need not run from pillar to post, that he will get whatever he requires. All the services are available at his doorstep. Keeping the CBI and the Central Vigilance Commission out of political control, making them independent, and seeing that the manner of their appointment, they are not subject to government directions and control. Apart from this, any suggestions which you could give to promote probity? So these suggestions you can say, first thing would be you implement the recommendations of the second ARC. See, the second ARC took so much of time to prepare. It made a study of the working of the civil service in different countries. It has given beautiful suggestions. So why the government is not acting on the recommendations of the second ARC? So first suggestion you can suggest in your answer, time-bound implementation of the second ARC recommendations. The second suggestion which you can give is, you have a screening, say once in 10 years or once in 8 years, so that if the civil servant is not performing, if he is not adhering to the targets or whatever, he can be removed. It should not be that entry into government service is something which is permanent. It should be the continuity in the service should be only on the basis of performance. So this particular question, we had a discussion on the introduction of what is probity. Then we spoke of why probity is required. We said for accountability, integrity, compliance with procedures, avoiding potential for misconduct. Then the tools to promote probity, we listed how the Whistleblower Protection Act has to be strengthened, corruption has to be exposed, people should be incentivized. Then code of ethics, this is a very important thing. Up to now, we don't have a code of ethics for the civil servant. Proper training, refresher courses to inculcate values, and to see that the civil servant is committed for the welfare of the vulnerable groups. E-governance initiatives, keeping the CBI and CVC out of political control. Finally, in conclusion, you suggest time-bound implementation of the second ARC recommendations. So, implementing the second ARC recommendations in a time-bound frame will definitely promote probity and bring about improvement in the functioning of the civil services. In fact, the second ARC has a chapter on protecting the honest civil servant. So this is the most important thing. Unless the honest civil servant is protected, he cannot perform. There should be a mechanism for an impartial system of transfers, promotions, and keeping the civil servant away from the influence of the political element. So this is how a question for 200 words can be analyzed.